To discuss the real issues affecting the Tasman nations, this is Trad Tasman Talk, jointly produced by the Unshackled.net and rightminds.nz. Now, here's Tim Wilms in Australia and Dieuwe de Boer in New Zealand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trad Tasman Talk for another week. It is 7:10 p.m. here in Melbourne. Yes, we are 10 minutes late, but that's because it's an action-packed news show and we're busy making sure we had everything ready to go.
And it is 9 p.m., just after 9 p.m. here in Auckland, and I am Dieuwe de Boer for Right Minds NZ, and we are streaming to both of the YouTube channels and I believe Tim's DLive channel as well. And it is good to see everybody in the chat already. And like Tim said, we're ready to go.
I find when you do start late a live stream, it makes people stick around in anticipation. And so you end up with a larger live audience at the start than what you normally do.
Certainly very helpful in this case. So let's not delay and go for it.
Well, you're out of lockdown again in Auckland.
That's right. We were locked down for a whole week due to 0 new cases. So we spent 7 days getting 0 cases. And then we did get a few extra cases after we returned to level 2, one of them being an Air New Zealand worker who was just vaccinated last week and tested positive this morning.
Well, maybe they got it before the vaccine.
Well, the story is that the vaccine it takes 2 weeks before it works. So they would, they were vaccinated, they then got it, and but that's okay because it takes 2 weeks. Yeah, which is as long as it takes to get COVID.
Well, over here in Victoria today, we saw the fall of Daniel Andrews, which I know a lot of Victorians have been praying for quite a while. So this is a statement that he released this afternoon. Early this morning, I was admitted to hospital after slipping and falling on wet and slippery stairs. A CT scan has revealed several broken ribs and vertebrae damage, and subsequent medical advice is recommended to remain in intensive care for the next few days. Kath, the kids, and I are extremely grateful to Ambulance Victoria paramedics who showed such care and kindness to our family this morning, as we are to the clinicians who have taken care of me today. A warm and sincere thanks go to the many family members, friends, colleagues, and Victorians who have sent messages of love and support throughout the day. There's also been a lot of other comments made as well. Thank you. I hope to be able to provide a further update this week. James Merlino will serve as acting premier while I recover over the next few days. For now, we'd like to ask that our family's privacy is respected. Now, he's not the first dictator to suffer a fall. In the early 2000s, Fidel Castro, he fell while on stage and broke his arm. And I remember the George W. Bush State Department at the time put out a statement saying they'd been looking forward to Castro's fall for years.
It also seems to be something that happens to American politicians. I remember Harry Reid, who I believe he was opposition leader at the time.
Senate Democrats leader. He went between minority and majority leader.
Yeah, and I can't remember at which time, but at one point he managed to fall as well. And then you had Mitt Romney the other week, who also managed to slip and fall, and both of them had black eyes, which...
Yeah, very clumsy injuries. And
certainly.
Yeah. And I think my feelings were summed up well by the first half of this XYZ article that they published this morning. Obviously, the Unshackled and XYZ have our differences now, which is quite stark with our quite different coverage of the Tom Sewell incident and fallout from the past week. So this is what David Hiscott, their editor, wrote. The XYZ is pleased to announce that Victorian dictator Daniel Andrews has fallen down the stairs. Apparently he was at home while preparing to go to work. He's been taken to hospital for scans and precautions. The XYZ has been unable to confirm whether or not it was an assassination attempt or whether he merely tripped over his massive floppy dick ears, but we have obtained hilarious footage of the incident. Our podcast listeners won't be able to see this.
You're gonna describe it. Do the audio description. There's a cat.
Yeah, there's a few cats.
And one of the cats hops in the box and falls down the stairs.
Yeah. Obviously,
I think that cat fared much better than Daniel Andrews did, though.
Yeah. Obviously, we do not wish him well. We do not wish him a speedy recovery, and we are sure that that the rest of the state are laughing at him too. And Australians versus the Agenda, which is run by Anthony Kaloof, who was charged with incitement over the September 5 Freedom Day protests, went with the headline, Dan Andrews to undergo COVID-19 anal swab test after morning fall. We can only hope this actually happens.
And I do hear that China last week has made the COVID anal swab mandatory for any non-citizens visiting China. And in addition, they've also had a court ruling that homosexuality is a mental disorder. So if you would like to get treatment for homosexuality in China, you can go there. You just have to have them anally probe you before you can get your mental health treatment.
It's an odd contradictory policy.
China. I mean, China's still laughing at us. That's certainly what's happening.
Yeah, and
while Dan Andrews, go on.
Yeah, Anthony Kaloof, who, as I mentioned before, he said that he was going to be eating ribs tonight. That's what he put on his Facebook page.
While Dan Andrews has fallen down the stairs, in New Zealand here, Jacinda has run for the hills instead. She had a terrible week, obviously, after locking down all of Auckland, doing at least $500 million of damage to the city for 0 cases. So she cancelled her weekly morning interviews with Mike Hosking, who's well-known, sort of right-wing-ish National Party supporter who runs the...
But he's still a tough interviewer.
Yeah, he's a tough interviewer, whoever he's interviewing, and he runs the #1 most listened to radio show in New Zealand in the early morning breakfast slot, and it is the most successful commercial radio station in New Zealand as well. So she is no longer doing interviews with him, and it's also been reported that she's halved her appearance with other broadcasters as well. So she's decided that, as David Farrar says in this article here, that she's decided that the Facebook live streams, focusing on Facebook live broadcasts where no one can actually ask questions, is going to be her new way forward, because she didn't like the questions that she was getting about her incompetence and why things are going wrong. What was slightly hilarious, we speculated last week about whether or not this KFC worker that she had blamed for not isolating actually had to isolate. You had the Unite Against COVID-19 Facebook page comment, and that Facebook page is run by the Office of the Prime Minister. And Mike Hosking, certainly by our standards, Mike Hosking is sort of he's like a centrist liberal, but certainly to the left, he's viewed as the devil incarnate.
Probably the best Australian comparison to him is Neil Mitchell, who hosts mornings on 3AW Melbourne. He's known as a tough interviewer. He probably leans more right. He's well known for his gotcha questions with politicians, which is why Dan Andrews hasn't gone on his program for, I think, nearly a whole year.
And we shall see if Jacinda wants back on the radio in an election year, although the media is starting to turn, and when if the media create you, then they certainly will be able to break you. So that's something she certainly needs to be very, very cautious of. We shall see. In addition, New Zealand has also announced that we have gone all in on the Pfizer vaccine. So you were speculating recently about the different vaccines you might get to choose in Australia. We will only have the Pfizer vaccine. The government has bought however many, 10 million doses, something along those lines, enough for everyone, they say, voluntarily, of course. And that's going to be it. Jacinda has still not taken the COVID vaccine. I've sent you
we had the federal health minister, Greg Hunt, take the AstraZeneca vaccine on the weekend with former Prime Minister Julie Gillard. And we've just had some breaking news that Greg Hunt has been admitted to hospital with a suspected infection just a few days after taking the vaccine.
But certainly, I've got the clip here if you can play it. She was doing an interview with the AM show, Duncan Garner, who's probably one of the other hard-hitting.
Is this the 12-minute one?
Yes, but if you can skip 6 minutes ahead and just play about 30 seconds of it, then we're pretty good. And I see a comment here about Mike Hosking, again, since we're talking about radio hosts, from Dr. Foster, slightly right to left of center. That's Mark Stein's old line, one of my favorites too. And Duncan Garner in some ways is similar.
Here we go here.
I can't hear it. Is it muted? I certainly can't hear it.
Can our audience hear it?
I don't think so. Can you, is there, oh well, I'll have to talk about it instead if we can't get it to work. But basically she's asked if she's willing to take the he asked her, is she going to take the vaccine? You haven't taken the vaccine yet, have you? And she
can't hear it.
Exactly. So she then says, "Oh no, I haven't yet scheduled that in. I haven't yet planned. I'm going to take it some time. I don't know exactly when." And he keeps prodding, keeps asking, and she says, "Well, I'm not one of the people at immediate risk. I'm not one of the people at risk of COVID. There's a small number of people at risk, and we need to get them vaccinated first. And I'll get scheduled in when everyone." It's rolled out to the general population in the middle of the year. So, So a very reluctant, half-hearted answer from the Prime Minister there about getting vaccinated.
Well, the blue drips on Australian Twitter, as they're known, the Australian left on Twitter, their accounts are identified by these blue drips. They were praising Jacinda for buying so much of the Pfizer vaccine because they're Pfizer fiends and also love Jacinda. Of course, they omitted the fact that they're not going to become available until the second half of the year. And I call them Pfizer fiends is because they believe that this is the best vaccine ever, and that the Morrison government has sold Australia short with the AstraZeneca one, doing a dodgy deal with CSL to manufacture it here, which to me, they're the real underminers of Australia's vaccine program, because we're 50 million of the AstraZeneca, most of them produced here in Melbourne. So they're always accusing people such as us of undermining the vaccination program. Well, they're saying that, we're being sold a dud vaccine, it's not going to protect us. Isn't that undermining the vaccination program?
Mm-hmm. And we are getting a lot of they're starting to push a lot of the propaganda now, after the sustained propaganda after it's been revealed that at least a third of New Zealand is wanting to wait and see, with at least obviously at least 10% will straight up not interested and would decline, but there's an additional 20 to 30% that they're very worried about might slip through if they can't push enough sustained propaganda through to the masses.
Yes, it went viral with the clip that we played of Jacinda hot off the presses last week's gone viral all throughout the Australian social media amongst the freedom and anti-lockdown community. And obviously we're in, I think we're still in, phase 1A of our vaccination program, but already this is from the News Corp Australia network. A small number of aged care residents died in the days after they received their COVID-19 vaccination, but the deaths were not included in the government's first official adverse event report. The government is denying the secrecy surrounding the deaths is a cover-up. There is no evidence the Pfizer vaccine caused the deaths. It is important to note that around 1,000 residential aged care residents every week die under normal circumstances, whatever that means.
Imagine if they ran this with replacing Pfizer vaccine with COVID instead.
Yeah.
Well, under normal circumstances, 1,000 aged care, people in there, which is obviously the case, right? And it's the exact same excuse they're using now for COVID, which is to say, oh, well, these people died and they must have died of COVID. And it's like, well, that's correlation does not equal causation. But now suddenly, they agree that correlation does not equal causation. So it's turning into a very large scale, I would say, statistical sleight of hand to be generous or outright scam to probably be closer to the truth.
So obviously, this is a breaking story with Greg Hunt going to hospital. It seems like at the moment that the healthcare system is overwhelmed with politicians who are suddenly falling ill, because in Victoria we have the police minister, also Minister for Emergency Services, and COVID hotel quarantine, Lisa Neville, taking 3 months off because she's recovering from the effects of Crohn's disease. She's been suffering from it for the past 32 years, but lately it's the worst that she's ever been. And obviously, as you can see, she doesn't look the best in appearance, so she's off for three months there. And we also have, and we'll get into this later, Federal Defence Minister Linda Reynolds has extended her medical leave by 3 weeks on the advice of her cardiologist for a heart condition, which came about after the Brittany Higgins rape allegation came about, which is alleged to have occurred in Linda Reynolds' office, and there's been further developments on that front, and also in the parliamentary rape allegations saga, whatever you want to call it.
Hashtag Me Too.
So we've got
Australian
a lot of
Parliament edition.
We've got a lot of sick politicians at the moment. Soon their healthcare system is going to be
politicians tend to be pretty sick. They certainly do. And last week I was talking about our strange coincidences with the way that our lockdowns are scheduled, specifically to avoid the big gay out and various other pride parades, and to coincide with all of these events. I believe there's just been a confirmation of that in Australia over the past week. My theory that the science is seems to be a little bit gay seems to be a hypothesis that is on the verge of being proven correct.
Yes, because the Sydney annual Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras occurred on Saturday night. To make it so it was a COVID-safe event, it wasn't a parade down Oxford Street as it normally is. It was a ticketed event at the Sydney Cricket Grounds. Now, the Unshackled has made our editorial position clear that that type of degenerate parade shouldn't be out on the public street. It should be in a stadium, and limited to those over 18. It wasn't limited to over 18, but it was at a private stadium, so halfway there. So I'm not complaining about that. But there was allowed to be, I think, was it 5,000 participants and 30,000 in the crowd. Gladys Berejiklian was there, up in the Premier of New South Wales and the SCG corporate box there. And as you can see with their photo, there's not much social distancing there.
No, certainly not. And what is the standard limit over there in Sydney for events at the moment?
2 square meter rule. So basically half capacity of a stadium. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Anzac Day in Melbourne, whether that will go ahead. Andrews has said it will close to normal Anzac Day as possible. But Gladys, with regards to Sydney's Anzac Day, has to date wanted a very somber, limited Anzac Day, but she has buckled today. Anzac Day march capacity increased to 5,000. As after
there's some good news for the day.
Yeah, reached an agreement with the New South Wales government and police to increase the number of people able to attend. So.
Although you get all the media complaining about it being a super spreader event.
Yeah.
As they do about anything they don't like.
Yeah. The Australian Defence Force and obviously veterans, they are allowed to participate in the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras parade. So they're allowed to be in that parade, just not the dedicated.
Just not the one that matters. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Not the important one. That's certainly the case. Yeah. And it was Women's Day yesterday or the day before.
International Women's Day, which we should say is a communist event.
I was going to point out as a communist event. I know someone who has married someone from Russia, and apparently it's bigger than Valentine's Day in Russia. International Women's Day is a big deal in the former Soviet Union, which of course is why we're celebrating it here in the Western world as we transition into communist countries slowly but surely.
Yeah, a Monday yesterday in Victoria was also Labor Day as well. So we had 2 communist holidays on the one day, Labor Day and International Women's Day. That also on Labor Day in Melbourne, it's also the Moomba Festival, which the City of Melbourne cancelled. But after talking with the state government, announced it was back on, but there would be no parade because of COVID restrictions. But it was a pretty poorly attended Moomba. But the Melbourne weather, because it has been raining the last few days, we're back to the typical 4 seasons in one day here in Melbourne. Now that we are in autumn, even though they weren't allowed a parade for Moomba, there was a COVID-safe International Women's Day, or you would say, demonstration or commemoration outside the steps of Parliament House. And how could I not forget that even though the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras parade itself didn't go ahead, the communist gays who organised the Pride in Protest, or who convened the Pride in Protest Mardi Gras.
You mean the Globo Homo?
Yes, they staged their own demonstration on Friday evening, which was deemed COVID safe. So they're allowed to march through Oxford Street in a protest. They want to ban the police, corporations, and Liberal Party from the Mardi Gras, which basically is now in New South Wales all of their biggest supporters now.
Certainly. I wanted to point out this comment from Margot, who was complaining that she couldn't type out that science was controlled by the Globo Homo in the chat. So I'm trying to say it. I don't know if YouTube's algorithms will.
I say that, and this is common social media language to not trigger the algorithms.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully my New Zealand accent won't trigger the algorithms either. So we'll see how we go if the show stays on air or not. I was going to make a joke. I'd prepared a joke for the show to say, like, Happy International Women's Day. I hope that your woman has made you a sandwich or something along those lines. But I can't do that joke anymore because Burger King managed to do a woke version of it that went horribly wrong. So if you could bring up the tweet there, they tweeted out saying, "Women belong in the kitchen." Which obviously hilariously funny tweet. And they tried to follow it up with some woke stuff about how only 20% of chefs are women, and they want to offer scholarships to women so that they can become chefs. And then they had to delete the tweet and issue an apology to say that they were very sorry for their offensive tweet, and they didn't mean, they were trying to say something good. And they apologized for the comment section of it not being a safe space by people saying offensive things, people responding with offensive tweets, like agreeing with them. And I think what summed up my thoughts on this, actually, I had a tweet here. If you could bring up the next link for me. Otherwise, I'll read it out anyway. But
yeah, got it here. I think this is by Charlie Nash.
Yes, I think so. And the tweet says, I'll bring it up myself. You got it. Okay. I don't know.
Oh, no,
it's on the side. Yeah, it's okay. It's a little bit small. That's all right. But yeah, saying in response to their complaint, them saying that they were going to, say that they wanted to increase the number of chefs in women chefs. Yeah, he said women in the kitchen cooking for their family. Boo. Women in a more greasy and disgusting kitchen working as wage slaves for capital. Yay. Very good. So that's ultimately what Burger King is all about on International Women's Day. Very.
And of course, in Australia, it's known as Hungry Jacks.
I should have started with that for our Australian audience. I'm sorry.
Oh, but we do know
that's because
the Australian.
Right. Because somebody already had a registered Burger King trademark, right? And
yes, and once that original Burger King business ended, they just decided, well, Hungry Jack.
I think one of the other things that ended up happening on International Women's Day, which I think may have just been a coincidence, but somebody decided to start a new gender identity. And so I want to come out of the closet on this one. I'm embracing this new gender identity that has been formed, known as super straight. So
isn't it a sexuality?
SSLG. It's a sexuality. It's part of the SSLGBTQI++ movement. So I'm now part of the SSLGBTQ movement, and super straight is it's all about men who it's about cis men who are interested in cis women, or cis women who are interested in attracted to cis men, and it's a much oppressed sexuality at the moment. And so it's got its own flag and got its own colors at the moment, and you should see it everywhere. And you'll see a lot of super phobic hate on Twitter as well.
Super straight phobic hate.
Sorry, super straight. Yeah. It's called super phobic. Is the correct terminology. Super phobic people who oppose the super straight sexuality. So that's if you'd like to see more, but I've actually put a link in there to the Super Straight India Twitter account there, and if you quickly scroll through that for 30 seconds, then people can get a better feel for what it's all about.
Have you got it here?
Yeah, it is. I'll just highlight it here. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here, yeah. I'll bring it up now. Yeah, so it's the Indian. I didn't know there were chapters.
Yeah, there are different chapters. So this is the Indian chapter. Seeing a lot of super straight hatred on the timeline. To all of you super straight people reading this, you are valid, beautiful, precious, powerful, fierce, amazing, talented, compassionate, real, and most important of all, remember that you are brave. Say no to superphobia. And of course, you can scroll down and see a few of the memes. People who are super straight, also referred to as super sexuals, So it's got a flag too. There's a lot of bigots who hate it though. And a few Twitter accounts have actually been suspended for violating Twitter's terms of service in saying violent things towards members of this new sexuality. So. That's right.
What also, it aired in Australia and New Zealand on International Women's Day was the much anticipated, or we shouldn't call him Prince Harry, we should call him Harry Mountbatten Windsor, and he is wife,
he's still got his royal title right now. So.
I'm choosing to call him by his, what is it, normie name.
Yeah. Well, it's debatable whether he is actually of royal descent. Of course,
I know,
there have been a lot of questions about that. So maybe he should never have been a prince to begin with.
Yeah, maybe because everyone's awaiting the response from the royal palace about all the allegations. Mainly, Meghan Markle made that they were really mean to her. They were racist and they weren't keen on a mixed race royal. Why don't the palace just come out and said, yes, the rumors are true. James Hewitt is his father, not a real royal.
That would be epic. I'd be very happy with that. We're obviously not going to go into the Oprah interview, but I just want to say that it was well, we're not going to show any of it. We'll talk about it a little bit because it was wonderfully scripted, right? I mean, she is an American actress, and people are complaining that she is a C-grade actress.
She is. She was never.
She's doing a really good job of it. Of this, like this is a pretty good act.
Well, that could also be because she has a psychological sociopathy and narcissism as well.
Yeah, but that's called method acting, Tim. She's doing a really good method act, where she's got it sorted in. You could see in the interview that Prince Harry was really like fidgety, and he was like, so some like he wanted to get out of there. She was blinking really weirdly too during some of the segments. So some clips of her saying, "Yeah, that's the truth," and having a little mini seizure. So there's a lot of cries for help hidden away in there. This is sort of what I think is going to be the next level of entertainment. Like we started this off with Donald Trump too. Like you had like regular entertainment, and then we went to reality TV entertainment, and now it's like we need reality entertainment. So we get Donald Trump in the White House. We get the whole like Meghan Markle doing her Princess Cinderella thing, and like becoming doing like a sequel to Diana, like Diana 2, the sequel.
It's a really poor sequel because they're nowhere near as good as the original.
And in fact, as a Twitter user here, Martin Twigs, who has actually compiled a few of the scenes from the original and the sequel, and like it's not, or like more like a reboot perhaps. Like she's done a pretty good job. So like this is her in Africa, so Princess Diana in Africa, and Meghan Markle in Africa looking the same, and same thing. Some of the other outfits there you can see. So
and that's
she's done a really good job
on her.
Yeah, absolutely. You can. I mean, she looks exactly the same there. So it's certainly it's a rerun, and it's but it's upgraded to be to sort of fit in. Like this is a new generation of people rejecting their heritage, right? It's like it's getting Harry to reject his heritage.
Modifying the Diana, what do you call it, episode saga to fit in with 21st century woke culture as well.
So exactly, it's a 100% woke remake of the original. And in fact, I was sent a question. I'll see if I can find it in here. Somebody privately sent me this question. I can't quite find it. I'm gonna. If the person is watching, if they could resend their question about.
I've written about the, or as it was referred to at the beginning of 2020, the Megxit. I called it the prince's cucking, because we all remember like 15 years ago he was the bad boy larrikin royal. He was the ultimate Chad, fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he's now become the ultimate cuckold, and he could have had any woman in the world. He was the world's most eligible ginger, and he's chosen this manipulative woman. I think he would have been better off going with one of the girls from that reality TV show, I Want to Marry Harry, which was all these women thought that they were on a dating show with Prince Harry when it was a lookalike. I think he should have married one of them.
Certainly. I got so someone's just resent me this question in private saying, question for tonight's Trad Tasman Talk. How long until Meghan Markle meets the median barrier in a Mercedes? I can already sense that the Lizard Queen has dispatched the assassins. So,
well, everyone was thinking it wouldn't have ever happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
If they were wanting to Diana her, shouldn't they would have done it like a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? Maybe the old lizard people are losing their touch. They're
well, we have Prince Philip. He's still in hospital. Is that not? And Andy Nolch, who's written a few articles for us, he in his latest drew a link that Prince Philip received the Pfizer vaccine and now he's fighting for life, which I hadn't really thought about. Obviously, they could be completely unrelated, but
just a coincidence.
Yes. Just like, Greg Hunt going to hospital tonight is a coincidence.
Just a long series of coincidences, yes. That is interesting. And I believe there was the speculation they're trying to make the royal family out to be racist, which is pretty laughable, seeing that the royal family has reigned over the most diverse and multicultural empire in the history of the world, and at least done more, at least as a family, they've done more for Black people around the globe than any other family, perhaps. And of course, Meghan Markle herself, not actually, she's, if you look at her, she's like whiter than I am with a tan, in the summer.
Nobody would. Yeah. Nobody would, like, if they see her, nobody would, register.
She looks a bit Spanish. That's about it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it was the identitarians, identity politics left who all made the big deal that she was half Black. But I think
and of course the kid, their son is white as white can be, I believe.
Yes,
I've only seen one.
Got ginger hair.
Yeah, ginger. He got the ginger genetics. There you go. Ginger supremacy.
The rules
superiority of the ginger genes coming through.
Yeah. I think the historical precedent still stands that members of the British royal family should not marry American divorcees.
No, well, that's certainly the case. But it's like I said, it's a rerun, right? So they're trying to keep trying to work in.
Although Diana was pure.
Tropes. Yeah, but they're trying to work in some tropes, from the past. What a bizarre, strange story. And I believe it was Mike Stein who commented on this, saying that this was basically things to obsess. That was this. I'll read out his title. He's saying things to obsess about until they nuke us. And this was one of the things that he had featured in there, saying like this is what we've been reduced to. You've got it open there, basically highlighting, as you can see in that cartoon there, he's mixed in a few of the recent crazy stories of the week, but I'm not going to go into this in any depth, but it's essentially the case of this just being absolutely one of the absolutely insane stories of the week that we're talking about right now. But the reason is because it just goes to show how absolutely bizarre things are, and that we have there's very little culture left other than some just absolute bizarre propaganda stories.
Well, speaking of bizarre, Australian politics, you'd say, got even more, you'd say, bizarre, surreal, insane. We spoke about on Trad Tasman Talk last week that there was an historic allegation against a historic rape allegation against a sitting cabinet minister, and that he would reveal his identity on Wednesday. It was revealed to be Christian Porter, the federal attorney general. He gave a press conference on Wednesday from his home town of Perth to emphatically deny the allegation and said that it just didn't happen because he was when this alleged rape was supposed to occur was when he was 17. The alleged victim was 16. They were at the National Debating Championships in Sydney. The woman who is known just as Kate, she took her own life in the middle of last year after going through mental health facilities in Melbourne and Sydney during the COVID pandemic. She took her own life in Adelaide after returning from Melbourne. The statement that she penned detailing the allegation against Christian Porter, that's not an official police statement or an affidavit. It's simply something that she wrote. Now, this statement was released, it was reported on by the ABC's Louise Milligan, who aired a Four Corners episode late last year detailing the, you would say, chauvinist, womanizing history of Christian Porter, and also the fact that Alan Tudge, also a federal cabinet minister, had an consensual affair with a staffer. And so Four Corners last night on International Women's Day aired, a sequel, you would say, saying that we wanted to bring you this allegation story last year, but we couldn't for legal reasons, and interviewed Kate's friends. But despite now obviously the Twitter feminists left the blue drops because he's a liberal conservative federal minister. He must be guilty. There must be an independent inquiry, aka kangaroo court, to assess whether he's a fit and proper person to be Attorney General, even though the complainant is dead. New South Wales Police have said there's no case to answer. They've closed the allegation, but yeah, they still want a way to basically disqualify him somehow and find him guilty through their own means, but they don't want the same independent inquiry kangaroo court for Bill Shorten, who was cleared of historical rape allegations in 2014, the former Labor opposition leader, even though his accuser, Kathy Sheriff, is still very much alive and she still wants the matter reinvestigated. Victoria Police decided in 2014 that there was no case to answer. So the double standards are on complete display, and Christian Porter looked a broken man when he fronted the press conference, and he said that he's not going to resign because he doesn't want a precedent set that someone can lose their career, their life's work because of an allegation. That sort of sounded like he does want to walk away, but he just doesn't want to set that precedent. He's got the backing of the Morrison government.
And this happened to plenty of others. You know, the precedent exists in that, very often men don't recover from these allegations at all, even if they're later completely proven to be false, let alone, as said in this case, just hanging there. That's damaging and dangerous enough. So interesting, at least, hopefully he holds in this case, assuming there are no further details.
He's taking a few weeks mental health leave, again, contributing to their politician hospital ward.
Hospitalization, right, yeah. And I mean, it's certainly a smart thing to do, and leave it, the news cycle will move on. If you can survive the onslaught, usually the news cycle will move on.
Then later in the week, it was revealed, going back to, I mentioned that Linda Reynolds has taken a further 3 weeks leave because it was leaked to the media that in a private office, she called a alleged rape victim, Brittany Higgins, a lying cow not in regard to the allegation, but in regard to her claim that she hadn't been offered enough support from Linda Reynolds and the Morrison government. Now, obviously one of her staffers probably leaked that, and then an extraordinary thing happened that Brittany Higgins engaged Sarah Hanson-Young's defamation lawyer, who successfully sued David Linehelm, threatening to sue Linda Reynolds over the comment unless there was a public apology. Which it seems kind of weird that you'd sue someone for defamation for a comment they thought would remain private and then was leaked to the media.
Mm-hmm. It depends on how the defamation law in Australia works. Whether or not, obviously, who it was intended for sometimes that doesn't matter depending on how public it ends up being. So. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a nice thing to do, but it's I suspect something that will return to the show in months or years whenever it becomes relevant again.
And of course, the media narrative is always that the conservative centre-right side has the problem with women. Well, they can make the case easier in Australia because the Liberal Party has less female MPs, but it tends to be those who accuse political parties of sexism, gender discrimination, tend to be the women whose careers didn't go as well as they hoped, or they didn't realise their ambition. And former federal deputy Liberal leader Julie Bishop and foreign minister, she has played the feminist card since she only got 11 votes in the 2018 leadership spill, even though before then she had no time for feminism. And on International Women's Day, she decided to go on ABC 7:30 an hour before the Four Corners episode to confirm this rumor about a supposed liberal men's club. Oh, I'll try to get the sound.
The chat will be enraged by a second boomer moment during the show.
See if I can get it. I think I got it.
Excited imagination on the part of...
Oh, here we go. Here.
Your former colleague, the former Liberal Minister Sharman Stone, said that when you were in politics, a group of male politicians who called themselves the Swinging Dicks sought to block your career aspirations. Were you aware of this at the time? Does it strike you as credible? What did you make of it?
Well, actually, I believe it was big swinging dicks. So there was obviously an overexcited imagination on the part of some, I would suggest. Look, nobody self-identified to me. Thank goodness for that. But if they were seeking to block my aspirations, well, they didn't succeed, because my ambition was to be the Foreign Minister of Australia, and I'm very proud to say that I served in that role for 5 years. And likewise, I was Deputy Leader of the party for 11 years. So if their ambition was to thwart my aspirations, then they failed.
So there you go there. And Julie Bishop, she's known for her quick wit, and as she seemed to imply, like when she said, thank goodness they didn't self-identify to me. But it was just interesting that she popped up that night. And on the same ABC 7:30 program, they aired allegations from former interns in Craig Kelly, a former Liberal MP who's now an independent MP, that his office manager, Frank Zumbo, had been inappropriate with these female teenage interns. Just there was no allegation of sexual misconduct, but just you would sort of say inappropriate comments, and also just kisses on the cheek, encouraging, like they were like Frank encouraged them to kiss them on the cheek, and that just sort of, you'd say the word just sort of creepy stuff. Yeah. So there was also that as well. Again, a former Liberal MP, and it's emerged now that one of the reasons Craig Kelly left the Liberal Party is because he wouldn't sack Frank Zumbo. Craig Kelly has said that he's not going to throw his office manager under a bus for political expediency due to an allegation.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like the vaccines are putting half of your political class in hospital, and the other half is getting all excited about it, what strange side effects. I think these may be unlisted.
Now, even though our ABC in Australia, they're quite keen on airing Me Too allegations, they don't want their on-air presenters, to use the term pedophiles.
Or to refer to them as predators, I believe.
Yes.
Reading this is from Family First in New Zealand reporting on this. It was a big story. It was a big story here, and I suspect internationally.
Yeah, so here it is here. ABC reporters in Tasmania have been told to avoid referring to child sex abusers as pedophiles to avoid marginalising people with pedophilia. An email sent to all news staff this week advises against the use of the term pedophile, even to describe those who have seriously abused children over many years. We should avoid it unless we know he has a clinical diagnosis of pedophilia, and instead use serial sexual offender, predator, or a sexual abuser of children and young people. I noticed that here it doesn't say refer to them as child molesters or child rapists.
Which would certainly be a lot more accurate. But that's obviously the intent is there, because they're saying here as well that this is basically will harm people, will harm pedophiles who are inactive or something along those lines. So, which is not certainly right. I mean, it's demonic, perhaps, is the word that we're looking for here, and this is just another level of disturbing on top of what the media gets.
Now, I couldn't help notice that it was ABC in Tasmania who had issued this. When if we go back in time, an ABC presenter in Hobart was jailed over possession of child pornography. He hosted the TV show called Collectors. Ironically, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and this is exactly what they were saying. Was that this is the non-offending pedophiles would basically be people like Andy Muirhead, who are going to go to who are should be in jail or worse.
Well, he did go to jail. Yes,
exactly.
He's been released now, but thankfully his career has been ruined by that.
Exactly, certainly. So, and so that's why there's no such thing as a non-offending pedophile. That's just insane. A demonic, as I said, more accurate.
Well, that's what Margot has agreed with you.
Certainly the case.
Since we started late, we've got about 10 minutes.
We do. So if you've got any super chats or other questions, we are going for at least another 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. So drop them in the chat now. Last chance. And otherwise,
we have got a super chat from Clarky, a very regular super chatter who is a woman, as she self-identifies.
I'm sure she's straight too.
Yeah. I've no doubt she's a biological woman. She sent through $15 Australian, but left no comment there. But thank you very much for the super chat.
Thank you. She has left some regular chats in the comment section that I believe you've put up on screen. So if there's anything else she'd like up on screen, we'll drop it there before the end of the show.
I was wanting to mention also, because I haven't addressed it on any Unshackled Productions recently, but we have our, pandemic support fiscal cliff coming at the end of March with the JobKeeper program ending. So all those zombie jobs, as they're known, people are still technically employed because they're on JobKeeper will end, and also the enhanced, or you'd say, or doubled dole, the job seeker payment will end. It'll go back to New Start, but the Morrison government has increased it by $50 a fortnight because there had been pressure to keep some permanent increase, but obviously not so it was discourage work. But we still have we have lots of people unemployed, but we also have we're told that there's a pending shortage of fruit, or fruit prices are about to go up because they can't get the migrant labour to pick fruit. So because obviously the international travel, international borders are closed. So of course we have this paradox now where more Australians unemployed, but we have these vacant jobs.
Yeah. And we had this in New Zealand as well. We talked about this on the show a few months ago. Empty fruit, empty fruit. I was going to say fruit going to waste in orchards that were not empty, but where they couldn't get enough workers to pick the fruit, or apparently not at the conditions they were hoping for because they couldn't get the cheap immigrant labour. So I think Australia is heading into a similar situation. And while our wage subsidy came to an end last year, it gets reactivated every time we do another lockdown. So due to the week-long lockdown in Auckland, the wage subsidy is available again throughout New Zealand for any businesses that have had a 30% revenue drop in the past month. So it's likely something that we will see happen time and time again, where these businesses have to take a massive hit when the Prime Minister decides to shut down the city. And in addition, these kinds of policies are doing wonders for the New Zealand's housing market. We had house inflation hit $20,000 in the month of February and higher in other places. So for Auckland, during the month of February, it was $30,000. So if you own a house in Auckland, you're making $1,000 a day. The government is inflating the money supply by $1,000 a day on your behalf, and it's only going to get crazier from there. So this is just the beginning. We've seen inflation in milk prices as well. The exporters are happy, the farmers are happy. Their milk prices are going up, but milk prices going up means the price of dairy goes up. Your milk, your cheese, all of it starts to get more expensive. And once inflation hits food, that's when things will go truly ballistic.
Our former Prime Minister, John Howard, in his media blitz with the 25th anniversary of the election of his government, warned that there could be a pending mass inflation or stagflation like there was in the 1970s. In Melbourne, we have, obviously due to all the lockdowns, our Docklands precinct there's so many vacant businesses where the uni suburbs, such as around the universities such as Bundoora and Clayton, they're experiencing a lowering in demand, vacant properties as well. So there's still a lot of pain to play out.
And that's the full damage of this will come. I believe I saw a tweet today from an economist that said something along the lines of the changes, the repercussions will hit. They take a lot longer to hit than you think, than you expect. But then when they hit, they happen a lot faster than anyone could possibly imagine. So it's certainly things are going to get very ugly in the future. We just have no idea when that will be.
Now, next Monday, the 15th of March, is the 2-year anniversary of the Christchurch massacre at the mosque there, where 51 people were murdered by Australian Brenton Tarrant, and so obviously with the anniversary approaching, authorities especially in New Zealand, are on high alert, and they have charged, authorities over in Christchurch charged a 27-year-old man after he allegedly made a series of online posts threatening a terror attack in Christchurch involving car bombs on March 15th. Members of the armed offenders squad raided properties at St Albans and Linwood, which are suburbs of Christchurch, that shortly before 6 p.m. on Thursday, 2 men were arrested. So police later confirmed that a 27-year-old man had been charged with threatening to kill. Further charges against the man were being considered, police said.
And I don't believe there have been further developments on this that I've seen since then, so not much.
He posted them on 4chan.
Except that they were posted on 4chan, so it's hard to see how serious this may have been. Usually serious terror threats, at least these days, would not be posted on 4chan because, well, that's where everybody's looking. So you'd think it's possibly going to be a case of not having the means to carry it out. Obviously, whatever happens, the police will rightly throw the book at him, and having these just retards on 4chan doing this stuff is very, very damaging to New Zealand, and obviously people who've been hurt by this. It's this. We'll see what if we get more details in the coming weeks, but it's certainly just very, very sad.
And an update on the fallout from Tom Sewell's trip with Jacob Hergenett to Channel 9 last Monday, which ended up with Tom Sewell punching a Afro-Caribbean security guard outside Channel 9, who he alleged touched Jacob Hergenett, who was a cameraman, on the throat. ACA, they did interview Tom on the Tuesday and aired portions of that interview on their Tuesday night program. So ACA, being a tabloid current affairs show, got another story from their Monday story on the National Socialist Network and Tom. So a current affair hasn't changed all these years later. They decided that they would milk the assault of one of their employees for another story on the Tuesday. Tom Sewell has now been charged with, I think it's assault and affray. He's been bailed and will appear at the Melbourne's Magistrates Court in July, and also the Victorian Counter-Terrorism Command raided a place where a lot of the National Socialist Network guys live as well. So that's an update on that story that we covered last week.
Mm-hmm. Well, as expected, I guess. Nothing surprising about that outcome, which is precisely what we were predicting, and they will get what they deserve. So.
He's still posting Tom Sewell on his Telegram channel, so as the NSN. Telegram hasn't taken any action against them. In fact, their following has doubled since then. Probably a lot of them are probably authorities,
exactly,
academics and journalists following his accounts there. And Blair Cottrell, who worked with Tom during the United Patriots Front days, posted his thoughts on his Odyssey channel about what he called neo-Nazi cosplay and skinhead Hollywood cultural appropriation. I think I've mentioned already. Blair started up a Odyssey channel, which I know is a video hosting platform that you've been promoting, and which I've
Yeah, it's fairly new, and it's really taken off. So, like I said, it started off mostly out of interest in cryptocurrency channels, and seems to be gaining traction very, very quickly. That's certainly a platform that I see going well as an alternative or a replacement for YouTube, as a good successor if they can get their performance scaling up, if they can get their live streams working.
Yeah, which is the key.
Yeah, which is really the key. That's what's going to make or break any kind of alternative.
Because BitChute, it's pretty much broken now. I haven't been able to upload anything for a while. There is no such issues at the moment with Odyssey. Still, a lot of people who've been banned from YouTube and other social media are going to Rumble. A lot of the MAGA supporters are on that, and also Rumble's very political. Basically, it's almost 100% political content at this point, whereas Odyssey is actually got like interesting non-political content. The 99% Unite leaders, the anti-lockdown, pro-freedom activists Fanos Paniides and Rafael Fernandez, they've got permissucked from Facebook and Instagram, so they've opened up Rumble channels and also Telegram channels and chats there as well.
Good, cancel everyone. I'm a supporter of cancel culture now. It's good. Let's cancel everybody. I see some comments here from sorry.
More people that are cancelled, the more they migrate to these other platforms.
Exactly, and that's really it. Right? They just need to cancel more people. That's all we really need. And Origin says here, was it the going back to the NSN? Yes, so now I know all about the NSN thanks to the media blitz, et cetera, et cetera. The assault incident was completely generated by the media. They have to have a baddie, and that was something I mentioned last week. Basically, is this is the business as usual, right? It's a mutual parasitic relationship, and the media gets their clicks, they get their money, and the neo-Nazi cosplayers get all the attention, and whatever they get what they're after, right? Everybody's happy at the end. Well, I don't know if they're happy to be in prison at the end of it, but they'll be happy up until that point.
Yes, they've certainly got, as I said, Tom Sewell and the NSN on Telegram have got a sugar hit, you would call it.
Yeah, that's it, right? It's like, don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs.
All right. We covered everything, I think, succinctly and magnificently. Towards the end of the show, tongue twisted.
Certainly, we have run a little bit late, and we did start late, so great.
Yeah.
Great for that. We'll be back next week with hopefully another action-packed show, and see how things develop from here. As we have already mentioned, you can find me on Telegram, on Gab, on Odyssey. That's where I. And obviously on the Right Minds NZ website. That's it. Not doing anything else.
Yeah, same here. Myself and the Unshackled are on Gab, Telegram, working on Odyssey channels at the moment. And of course, the unshackled.net has all our articles and Unshackled Productions archive. There was, as I posted last night, was no Brawler on the Brain because both myself and Jared were sick with non-COVID related illnesses. Because as we...
You took the vaccine in secret, didn't you?
No, that's fake news.
All right. Well, good night, and we'll see you all next week. Stay safe, stay free, don't get locked down again.
Yep, and stay healthy.
Get your vitamins, go out and go for a jog, do some lifting, go get out on your bike.
Yep, agreed. Good night, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Trad Tasman Talk. To keep up with the latest real news and analysis from the Tasman nations, visit theunshackled.net and rightminds.nz.